Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenora Shapura. How are you, Glenn?
I'm good. I'm very proud of you. You threw in some Herero in there.
It's all essential. We do
very
what we
essential.
can. You know, I'm currently in the business of acquiring cattle, so I'm trying to appeal to my brothers personally.
Yes, please do appeal. Let's take a look at what you can expect in today's broadcast. Germany's president apologizes for killings in Tanzania under colonial rule. A member of Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa's family has been convicted of trying to smuggle gold worth over $330,000 US. Zambia's government has withdrawn retirement benefits and privileges from former President Edgar Lungu. Mike Suchula will also be filling us in on the news making waves in Zambia. To stick around for these stories and more news on Africa Good Morning.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with the entertainment.
Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news. Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Getting into our top stories, Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier apologized for the colonial-era killings in Tanzania during Germany's rule and vowed to raise awareness of the atrocities in his country in a step towards communal healing of the bloody past. I would like to ask for forgiveness for what Germans did to your ancestors here, Steinmeier said during a visit to the Mai Mai Museum in the southern Tanzanian city of Songea. I want to assure you that we Germans will search with you for answers to the unanswered questions that give you no peace. Tanzania suffered under German colonial rule for decades before and after the start of the 20th century and saw one of the region's deadliest uprisings from 1905 to 1907. Now, between 200,000 and 300,000 Maji rebellion indigenous people were murdered as German troops systematically wiped out villages and fields.
In our next story, we're swinging over to the House of Stone. Henrietta Rushwaya, who is president of Zimbabwe's Miners Federation, was caught with bars weighing 6 kilograms in 2020. She was traveling from Harare to Dubai when the contents of her handbags were picked up by the airport scanner. Ms. Rushwaya said she had picked up the wrong bag, but she was charged with presenting an invalid export license. Now, all exports of gold must be accompanied by a permit. She has been remanded into custody and awaits sentencing on the 10th of November. Ms. Rushwaya was charged alongside 2 agents from the country's National Intelligence Agency who were both acquitted due to lack of evidence.
Now, Pope Francis said on Wednesday a two-state solution was needed for Israel and Palestine in order to put an end to wars such as the current one and called for special status for Jerusalem. The war in the Holy Land frightens me, Francis said. How will these people end this story? An escalation, he said, would mean the end of so many things and so many lives. Francis, who has called for humanitarian corridors to help Gazans and a ceasefire, said he speaks by telephone every day to priests and nuns running a parish in Gaza that was sheltering about 560 people, mostly Christians, but also some Muslims. He also said that he was concerned about the rise in anti-Semitism, adding that much of it still remains hidden. The war between Israel and Hamas, he said, should not make people forget other conflicts, including Ukraine, Syria, Yemen, and Myanmar.
In our next story, a Canadian startup run from a private home was chosen by Democratic Republic of Congo for a technically complex project to extract methane from the deep waters of a volatile lake, despite the company not meeting the tender's financial criteria, documents seen by Reuters show. President Felix Tshisekedi, who is seeking re-election in December, has promised to shake off Congo's reputation for opaque dealings as he pushes plans to develop dozens of oil and gas blocks, many of them in environmentally sensitive areas. First to be auctioned were 3 methane blocks in Lake Kivu, sometimes duped a killer lake because of a risk of deadly eruption.
Now, yesterday marked the International Day to End Impunity against Crimes Against Journalists. This year's theme, the violence against journalists, the integrity of elections and the role of public leadership. In the next clip, Namibia's Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology Deputy Minister Emma Theophilus commemorates this event.
Today marks the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. This year's theme, the violence against journalists, the integrity of elections, and the role of public leadership, allows us to create awareness of the dangers of impunity for crimes committed against journalists, and more so, pays tribute to those journalists who have lost their lives while diligently fulfilling their duty to provide information to the public. Since attaining independence in 1990, Namibia has upheld an exemplary track record with no journalists falling victim to violence or imprisonment for merely carrying out their professional responsibilities. This is a testament to the government's commitment towards ensuring a safe and enabling environment for all journalists, as provided for in the Windhoek Plus 30 Declaration. Journalism is a public good which must be protected. As a country that values and respects the ethos of media freedom, this day reminds us to speak out against any form of injustice against journalists globally. Any threats against journalists constitute severe encroachments on the freedom of expression and the press, and a direct contravention of Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These crimes create a climate of fear for media practitioners, hampering the free circulation of information to all citizens. As the Namibian government, we reiterate our pledge to freedom of expression and that of the media. We call on countries to heed this call to build essential foundations of democracy. Namibia has made remarkable progress in promoting media freedom and consistently maintained the top spot in Africa and 22nd globally in the Reporters Without Borders 2023 Press Freedom Index. Ending impunity for crimes against journalists should be prioritized, as it lies at the heart of ensuring the full exercise of the right of freedom of expression, facilitating open, free, and dynamic exchanges of ideas and information for all people.
All right, after the break, we swing over to Zambia and have a chat with Mike Sichula about the top stories.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Here to bring us the latest news all the way from Zambia is Mike Sichula. Good morning, Mike.
Africa, good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Mike, as we begin, what is the current state of the anthrax outbreak?
Yes, thank you once again. So, like I did report on Tuesday, now the disease has spread to about 5 provinces out of 10 provinces of Zambia. According to information shared by the Minister of Health, Sylvia Masebo, she did say that there are 335 cases across the country, and that a 12-year-old boy died as part of the 3 cases that were reported from Muchinga province, Lusaka, Northwestern, and the latest province to be added to the cases of the anthrax case. So Lusaka, the capital city, has got 13 active cases reported from densely populated regions, and also now, in order to contain the disease, local authorities have been encouraged to ensure that they effect a ban on meat that is being sold on the streets, as well as also visit butcheries, check on their sanitary conditions to ensure that there is no meat that is suspected to contain the anthrax that is being sold on the market. And also, members of the public are being encouraged to take caution in terms of what they eat, and also to avoid buying meat that they are not sure where it has come from. And this has also led to restaurant owners in Lusaka to record reduced sales in terms of meat products, something that is affecting their profit margins on a daily basis.
All right, now moving on, President Edgar Lungu has lost his presidential privileges after deciding to return into the political fray. Please expand on that.
Yes, this information was announced by Information Minister Cornelius Mwetwa, who said that the former President Lungu has lost his benefits. So some of the retirement benefits that a former president is entitled to in Zambia is he's entitled to a house that the government should pay if he doesn't want a house to be built for him. Then there's also security that is given to him, chefs, and also some motors that are given to the office of the former president. Now, the issue now is that the office of the 60th Republic of Zambia has not been functionally established by the current administration. So we are yet to see whether these benefits, as the minister has indicated, are something that will go, something that is it will go by, because there isn't the office that has been established that will truly indicate that these privileges have been taken away. So apart from maybe the government paying rentals for the former president, because the former president has been, for the last 2 years, has been renting in a house owned by footballer Stofila Nsuzu. So according to what he did tell the media sometime this week, he said that he had actually moved out of that house, but we have not truly established that the former president has moved out of his house. So he's been is expected now to begin a new career in terms of returning back to politics, and government believes that the former president should not be entitled to privileges set out for the former president.
Now, getting into your next story, in some rather positive developments, Germany has given Zambia 10 million euros to improve management of water supply across the country. Can you get into this?
Yes, so as the German president has been visiting Africa, from Tanzania, he came into Zambia. He had a media briefing with President Hichilema, as you can see in that picture at State House. So the German government has given Zambia 10 million euros to improve water management in the country. So this fund is going to Livingstone, the tourism capital, where they want to improve groundwater supply, because part of this region in Zambia, Livingstone, sometimes it gets very hot, and the water tables go down. So they want to improve on water levels by instilling, repairing some equipment that has been damaged for the water company in Livingstone. So this is something that President Hichilema said that it goes a long way in trying for the two countries to establish bilateral, friendly, and economic development. So the German president also visited a craft center where Germany agencies are providing scholarships, and it is one of those visits that Zambia is privileged to host an European president from Germany.
All right. Now, in sports, Zambia has become the first African country to pilot CAF's newly introduced club licensing online platform. Tell us more about that, Mike.
Yes, so the Football Association President Andrew Kamanga has since called on Zambian clubs to fully comply with the requirements of CAF club licensing regulations to avoid attracting penalties from local and international bodies. Kamanga did say that he was speaking when he officially opened the club licensing online platform, where it which was attended by 18 Super League clubs, chief executives, and interested parties. So the online system that allows CAF, FAS, clubs, and other football stakeholders to manage the processes of club licensing fully online and electronically. So it is something that the Football Association of Zambia is trying to move football into a more advanced way of conducting business. Usually, sometimes clubs have been facing challenges when it comes to CAF competition, where you discover that they have not managed to do the club licensing, and thereby CAF will remind them, and sometimes the process is tedious. Now, this process will be done within the Football Association confines. So it is something that will improve the management of football.
Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing us the news stories from Zambia and certainly that positive outlook for CAF and Zambia.
Thank you very much. Africa, good morning. Do have a blessed weekend.
We certainly hope to do so. Let's swing over to the weather. In our economic news story, many in Mzansi were disappointed to return to work on Monday as they hoped for a public holiday following the Springboks Rugby World Cup victory. Now, this was after President Cyril Ramaphosa's promise that he'd declare a public holiday. Now, although Ramaphosa kept his word, his presidential gift of a day off came wrapped a little differently, scheduled nearly 2 months after the celebratory fever, that is.
Economist Davi Roth said Ramaphosa's promise to declare a public holiday was impulsive. I don't think it was a good idea to announce a public holiday. I think it was an impulsive comment, and now he's stuck with it, Roth told The Citizen. He said the economic implications of randomly declaring a public holiday would be costly, outweighing the benefit of a day off. The loss to production for the economy would be between 10 to 20 billion rands per day, he said, adding that SA's economy was already struggling.
That's a big celebration ticket. We head to the economic indicators just before Ari with the sport.
Good everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news first. It's the WTA finals, the women finals that continue in Cancun in Mexico. Big win for Iga Swiatek. She's from Poland. She beat the US Open winner Coco Gauff. That is in their group, still the round robin games. She beat her 6-love and 7-5, but it's not all lost for Coco Gauff. She can still qualify for the semifinals. The top 2 of the 4 in that group go through to the semifinals. In the other group, it is Jessica Pegula of the United States. She's already through to the semi-finals after 2 victories, and she will probably be joined by the winner of the game on Friday. That will be Aryna Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina. The 2 of them play on Friday. The winner will probably go through with Jessica Pegula to play in the semi-finals with Iga Swiatek and Coco Gauff. Then also it is the Paris Masters taking place. That's the men ATP Tour, and it is Yannick Sinner. He's the 4th seed. He's through to the next round. He had a tough game in the round of 32, and he was the Vienna Open winner recently. He beat Michael McDonald 6-7, 7-5 and 6-1. Not a good result for Felix Auger-Aliassime. He won the Swiss indoor title the past weekend, but he lost in the second round. He lost to Stefanos Tsitsipas, and that was in 2 sets. Also not good news for Daniil Medvedev. He's the number 3 seed, and he lost also in the round of 32. He lost to Grigor Dimitrov of Bulgaria. He's also out of the tournament. He lost 6-3, 6-7 and 7-6. The number 1 seed in the tournament is Novak Djokovic. Moving on to cricket news. World Cup cricket continues, the 50-over World Cup in India, and it is not good news for Australia for their game coming up this coming weekend against England. They've lost 2 key players. It's first Glenn Maxwell. Glenn Maxwell will not be able to play in the game on Saturday against England. He was injured when he fell out of a golf cart playing golf in India, and he had concussion, so it's not possible for him to play on Saturday. And then also a big setback in terms of Mitchell Marsh. He's the all-rounder for Australia. He needed to go back to Australia because of personal reasons, so he's out indefinitely out of the tournament, and he was a key component in the Australian team, playing all 6 of their games so far in the tournament. Currently, Australia is a 3rd on the points table. The top 4 of the 10 teams go through to the semi-final, so an important game against England on Saturday. South Africa leading at the moment with 12 points after 7 games, together with India also on 12 points after 6 games, and South Africa, a big victory for them, beating New Zealand by 190 runs, and they're almost certainly going to go through to the semi-finals in this tournament. And to close off today's international sports news, it's rugby news. No news from Australian rugby yet. Well, who will replace Eddie Jones? Eddie Jones stepping down as Australian coach. He made that announcement that he will step down as from the 25th of November. He had a contract up till the 2027. That was meant to be when that is when the World Cup is going to be in Australia. He was meant to be the coach until that date, but he's no longer going to be the coach. So he said that he's not happy with the weakening systems of Australian rugby, and that Australian rugby not prepared to put more resources into Australian rugby. It was not a good tenure for Eddie Jones. He just won 2 games out of the 9 games that he coached when he took over earlier this year, and the only games that he won was at the World Cup against lowly ranked Georgia and Portugal. Important also for Australia in 2025, the British and Irish Lions will tour Australia, so they need to find a coach that can coach them to be competitive in that series. And so news from Australia, they still searching and looking who they can appoint as the next coach replacing Eddie Jones. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's briefly get into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Germany's president apologizes for killings in Tanzania under colonial rule. A member of Zimbabwe President Emmerson Mnangagwa's family has been convicted of trying to smuggle gold. And Shell posts $6.2 billion profit as oil prices rise again.
And with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Friday morning. I am Glenn Rashipura.
And I am Ashwin Bedi.